This is the ISG Digital Dish.
Welcome to the Digital Dish,
a podcast for women's voices and perspectives in the digital world. I'm Lois.
I'm Missy.
And I'm Jeannie. And we want to make sure smart women and their points of view were being heard. Hi, everybody. Back again with the Digital Dish. We want to introduce you to a terrific interview of Keerthi Harikrishnan, who we interviewed recently. And she is so inspiring. So I hope you enjoy this listen.
Yeah, well, she's someone who's a great example of having a passion in life, which you'll hear about, which is in medicine. But then she also figured out how to interweave technology into that and accomplished amazing things. So it's a great story.
Yeah, and she was much more productive during COVID than the rest of us. I'm just going to say that and let that hang. So everybody give us a listen.
Today, we have a fascinating speaker that I am really excited to introduce you to. I was first amazed by Keerthi in a conversation around data and analytics, but truly around healthcare and life sciences. So before joining ISG, I actually have a background working with Humana, Aetna, Cigna, Optum, United Health Group, and always have been supporting anything around wellness and holistic health. And I was an athlete. And so mind and body and just the physical being a human it's near and dear to my heart. And in my spare time, I actually teach fitness classes at a major wellness company in evenings and weekends too. So I think we will have so much to talk about in terms of women in digital, women in healthcare, life sciences, women in data and analytics. And I could not think of a better person to have this conversation with. Keerthi, welcome.
Thank you, Missy.
Will you please introduce yourself? I will not even try to make an attempt at cover your many accomplishments, but how'd you get started? Tell us about your career and what you do today.
Yeah, I mean, I'm really excited to be talking to you all and, really wonderful opportunity. So I'll say a little bit about me. I wear multiple hats. So I started off like my college, like everybody else. I was very fascinated by how things work in the human body, the science of it, especially heart. That always fascinates me, how the heart works. So I went and did my physician assistant bachelor's degree. And after that, I got more fascinated with the heart. It didn't stop there. So I decided then to go get my PhD, specializing on why heart disease happen, especially in kids.
Wow.
So I went from India to the US, packed up my bags, and I was barely 21 when I landed in a country where I had no family, no background, just a 21-year-old full of dreams and, a lot of passion. And fortunately, I was very grateful to have an opportunity in a multicultural lab. We had people from all kind of nationalities. So I got trained with really diverse people. And there's a lot of technology that was introduced, which I was very averse to. Now that I think back at it, I think it was the science gods were colluding to tell me something. So I got a wonderful experience. 6 years. And then I said, you know what? I had a wonderful time. What do I want to do? So that's when I decided to pack my bags from the US. I came back to India to work on lung cancer because my grandpa had just passed away due to lung cancer before I went to the US.
Oh,
so
wow.
I said, let me come back to my country and figure out why are we getting so much of lung cancer in this country? And why is it specifically very high rate in Asians? So I came back and did for about 6 years some great research at one of the academic institutions. And then COVID hit. Just like everybody else, when things are going well, COVID hits and then you wonder, I really wanted to give back to the community. Now, what do I do? So that's when the technology really pulled me in. So instead of getting crippled by not being able to do lab work at COVID, I said, let me use technology to really advance cancer research. And I had two wonderful students who remotely taught me how to code.
Wow.
So we did a lot of searching on Substack on, how to get the code working and wonderful. So we published a paper and then it got me hooked to technology. And then I joined Persistent and I've been on a roller coaster. So I thought I would miss pipetting and dissecting animals, but I don't. I'm enjoying my day-to-day life here with all the wonderful data scientists, developers, and all. So yeah, I mean, it's been a one heck of a ride, and I can't wait to see what else is in store, in the near future. That was a long introduction, but I hope that kind of captures all the things that I've done over the years.
Oh my God. I cannot wait to hear what Jeannie and Lois will have to say. Went from a heart for hearts and passion, to then focusing on lung cancer and lung cancer research, all the while being a little bit averse to technology. And then somehow during a pandemic, I mean, most people are picking up, COVID hobbies. You learn to code.
Yeah, I wouldn't say I can't code to save my life, but yeah, I got the hang of it and I loved it.
What is it that is a normal day in your life right now with Persistent?
That's a wonderful question. So every day, my job is like, instead of now creating data, I am now, creating solutions that's going to help the scientists analyze their data effectively. So on a typical day, I spend with my team, who is fabulous AI research team, who are all stationed in Goa, which I'm very, very jealous, by the way. I'm in Pune, and Goa is a coastal area. So they're all over there. So we always have Teams calls on, what are the offerings that we are building? Is this feature good enough? Is this helping solve this particular scientist? And what are all the other things that we can bring in? For example, like right now I'm working on bringing in LLMs. How do we use LLMs to help build the current solutions better? So a lot of virtual Teams calls, and then doing some background research, get the data to build these solutions. So that's like about 70% of the time. The rest 30% are involved in, you build solutions, but then you ultimately want to get these solutions to the actual people. So a lot of time in preparing for client calls. How do we put together the pitch decks? What is it that the customer really needs? And do we have something that we can really be a game changer and, help make their lives better and easier?
So as a doctor, how do you foresee, I'll say the world, but even just in your area, data and AI impacting or affecting a scientist's life, a nurse, a patient's outcomes?
I'll again draw from my experiences, right? So I've trained as a physician assistant, and during my training, I did my internship at one of the hospitals, and then I went back to the same hospital to meet my mentor just post-COVID. And then I could see the difference, how the technology is made. So long lines.
Wow.
They had some basic EHR, some systems that were not really, that great in kind of reducing the patient time. But fast forward COVID, instead of waiting 6 hours to get a routine cardiology checkup done, our thing was done in less than an hour. The whole, if you had all the reports, everything was on the screen. So you had these big LED screens and it said, patient number 1, 2, 3, go to this room, that room. There are no announcement, no loudspeakers. You just have to follow the line. And if you didn't show up, they would call you over the mic. So that was one thing in, waiting the patient time. It really helped. And the second thing was just the analysis itself. And just the other day over a dinner party, I was talking to a gastroenterologist, very senior person. And it's always wonderful to hear the adoption of technology from really senior folks who've been here around for so many years.
And really smart, wicked smart people in their field who know how to do what they do. And then oftentimes they have a system and a way in which they want to do it. And technology adoption comes in, and it can be scary, especially for people who are already very seasoned to have to pick up something new.
Yeah. So what he said truly, I asked, we have all these AI assisted image analysis or, other kind of things, CDS. So he used the word CDSS, which I was very surprised to hear. And this was somebody with 35 years experience. And he said, yeah, I'm really interested in the CDSS part of it. While it's going to take away a lot of mundane, kind of these things away, his only other concern was, if we do everything online, I love the AI and all the other things, but is it going to take away the human touch of a doctor that brings to the patient? And I thought that was a really interesting part to it. But the positive thing is people are really looking forward to use technology and data to make a better clinical decision. And there's the ambiguity is gone. So when a patient has a cancer and the biopsy test is done, and there is, the marker is it 1+, is it 2+, I'm not really sure, AI removes that ambiguity. So that means the doctor can focus on giving the best drugs to the treatment instead of getting secondary referral or tertiary referral, and the patient can get started on the therapy. So in India, the adoption of technology is seen in a very positive light, is what I can say from my experience.
So what are you most excited about with the future and how these once seemingly disparate industries are coming together to make this wonderful experience and outcome for doctors, for patients, for hospitals, for cycle times, for drug administration, all of it? And what do you predict?
Oh, I can definitely talk about what I'm excited. I think prediction is still, although I would put out my wish list, and I do hope those predictions come true, but I can start small, right? Very small things. For example, if you take AlphaFold, a typical drug discovery, when I discovered a particular receptor for a protein and how things work, a drug discovery would take so long. And by the time you solve a structure, it takes a graduate student an entire PhD, 6 years to solve a structure. Now, with the data, with DeepMind, you can get those predicted structure in few hours if you are like really good at coding.
Wow.
And then really take those predicted structure and do experimental analysis with it. So instead of 6 years, this can be fast-tracked in a year. So that means that many drugs are going to be available in the market. So I am very excited to see the possibility, especially I keep talking about cancer, right? Because that's a disease that gets you. And people think when they have cancer, it's a death sentence. And I'm rooting for a day where cancer is like a heart disease, where you can just manage it. It's not a death sentence. You don't have to worry about it. It's just like a heart disease. Take your aspirin, take your clopidogrel, go for your regular checkups, and you should be able to manage it. I think cure is a very nice word, although we would love to have 100% cure, but being able to manage, and that's what the technology is going to bring, and that's going to bring it in a very short time.
Okay.
And also all the other kind of neurodegenerative diseases as well, right? When you think of Parkinson's or even autism, for example, autism is something for which we don't have a good course of treatment. It's very different for each kid, and we don't really know what causes it. All we know is it's a developmental, some behavioral this thing, but we don't really know what exactly is going on. And I'm hoping technology will solve some of those questions and give parents the access to therapy and get these kids a wonderful and even better life.
Yeah. So speed to market, definitely one great outcome, and just potentially more solutioning. Thinking about how to use neuroscience to support or aid in neurodiversity initiatives.
Yeah.
That would be fantastic because that impacts so many people all over the world, multi-generations. It's not very focused on any particular demographic or region. And the brain is definitely fascinating and near and dear to my heart. So if you could just share some of the, I don't even really want to say challenges, but if you have, case studies for being a woman in either of these fields and how you navigate that. I would assume, but I have no idea any facts or stats on this, that women are still minorities in healthcare and in life sciences or in science, because science, technology, engineering, and math, is still a part of the STEM spectrum. And you've been in both. So for any of our listeners who may be interested in either of these fields or going from one field to the other, how would you, I wouldn't say caution them, but what are maybe some cautionary tales or some lessons learned as a woman in digital and a woman in science?
Yeah, thanks for that question. Well, I've had help all along the way. And I would say, seeing me, a lot of people would assume I come from a background where I probably had some experiences and all. But I'd like to say, my grandma never went to school. My mom never went to college. So I'm the first generation in my family to go to college, not just college, right? go get a PhD and then come back into tech.
Yes.
And I've had wonderful mentors all along the way, starting from my grandmother to my mom. And then, during my grad school, I had all these professors. Initially I was a little hesitant, but then my mentor really encouraged me, said, you know what, if you have something to kind of talk about, it's okay to drop a cold email. The worst thing they're going to say is no. And luckily, I have never gotten a no. That's what I would like to say. And all the women folks out there have been really wonderful to me. Whenever I've written a note saying, I would like 5 minutes of your time, can I come pick your brain? They've always been very good to me. In grad school, whether which lab should I rotate in, which mentor should I pick? When I made the decision of coming back to India, is this a good decision? What do I do? And once I came back to India, and I have to say, in India, the academic is a little different, is what I was told. I had this apprehension because, a lot of the people at the institute come from top of the line. And I was like, are they really going to help me? But that was the fears were completely unfounded. So I would just see them in the corridor, get a cup of coffee, and then, talk to them over what is this line of research that I should do, or even, ordering things from abroad. That was the biggest problem I had.
Yeah.
Because in US, I could just call our lab manager and say, hey, Cindy, I need this antibody by afternoon. Is there any way can you get that? And she would make it happen. Here, you plan 3 months ahead. And you have purchase orders. You had to get governmental approvals because I was in a government research institute, all kinds of things. So how to navigate those things, I've always reached out to people and people were more than happy to share. And even when I wanted to transition, right? So I was in science, hardcore. And if it wasn't for the pandemic, you would see me as a professor. So when it hit and I said, I want a change of this thing, I went to this professor, amazing woman professor at IISA Pune, Mayurika. And I said, you know what, I want to do this. I know I'm really good at science, but I want to kind of change my tracks because of multiple reasons, right? And then she put me in touch with people. She said, the same day she wrote an email introducing me to this other wonderful person. And then I went and met him and he got me on board to Persistent. And all this happened just writing of an email. And even here at Persistent, I have great women leaders who are just a Teams call away or a Teams chat away. And I can talk to them from anything, buying shoes to, from how do I present to a particular client, or what are the current industry trends, or is this offering kind of bounce off the ideas that does this make sense? So I'm lucky to kind of say that I've had that support, and I also give back the same way. So when a lot of other fellow women folks, both in tech as well as in science, reach out to me, I give back whatever I get. So for all the women out there, and not just women, even the men out there and the young men out there, don't hesitate and don't let your fears hold back, and be as open as possible. And worst thing that can happen is you're not going to get an email. That's all.
I think that's a wrap. I'm clapping, preach. I love that. Go for it. Worst thing is you get a no. You didn't get any no's, and ask for assistance when you need it.
Yeah.
I want to say a cliche, be true to your heart.
Yeah, no, that's not cliche. I always say heart is still close to my heart. I may be doing a lot of oncology stuff right now, but if there is a client with a cardiology, I jump on the call. I'm like, even if it is just I have to listen in, I'm all game for it, because heart is my first love.
Yeah. I love that is your first love. All right. Well, Keerthi, thank you so much. I know our listeners will enjoy this episode and maybe reaching out to you and trying to find you on LinkedIn and anywhere possible so they can cyber stalk you and follow your career path, but also the amazing work that you and the team are doing in the field, bridging the gap between data and analytics and AI and everything with technology towards healthcare and life sciences for better outcomes for people. So thank you.
What a great interview that was.
Oh, that was fabulous.
It was, wasn't it? But I want to introduce Lily Alonso, who's one of our coworkers, and we're delighted to have Lily join us to talk about this amazing interview. So, Lois, you had some thoughts on this, so let's hear what you had to think about our interview with Keerthi.
Yeah, I guess overall what she represents, which to me, when we first started Women in Digital as a podcast, at that time it was Julie who was our original co-host with us. And we first thought, like, wait, are we qualified to do a podcast on digital? Because although Jeannie, you thought of yourself as a technology geek, if you will, that you describe yourself, but I certainly do not. I took finance in college and have been working, in many other fields. Julie was in HR, and neither one of us would consider ourselves technologists, but yet what I think Keerthi really brought to the forefront is you have passions in life that you might be really excited about. In her case, it was around, because of personal situations, she wanted to really figure out how to help people and in the medical field. But yet she married that with what technology could bring to it and how she could really, contribute to that particular field. And I think that is what Women in Digital are all about. How do they take their passions, marry it with technology, and see what they can do?
Absolutely. But I'll tell you what, not everybody needs to learn to code because I tried. And just saying that. I've tried. I could code, but I don't want to. It's not my thing. But Lily, what you're coming in on this one fresh. I produced it, so let's hear what you had to think about it.
Yeah, well, I really like how since she was young, like 21, she started being interested in this part of data research and data science, and how she used an unfortunate event of her life, that was the cancer of her grandfather, to try to do something positive and do focus on lung cancer research and how to apply technology and AI in that research,
Yeah,
and data science. So I think that was really interesting.
I feel like there's been so much negative stuff about AI. And there are some scary things about AI, but I do think that her point about using the data and AI to actually help make better medical decisions and to speed cures is really a really vital part of this AI conversation. And I think and everybody just should be worried, but I just think that was really something that made me really stop and think. So I was really glad to hear that.
Yeah.
And I think that's a recent conversation is also with Chat GPT, because it is a problem solving sort of a software based on AI. And to, do diagnoses or other things within the medical field, you're right, it is a bit scary. But when you have really intelligent and, well-meaning people working with it, it's going to be helpful. It's just that balance that I think we all need to understand. And she really has a great grasp on it. And, I trust her. You could tell she's helping to make good decisions as to how you utilize AI.
Right. Still, when you go back to what she did during the pandemic, some people made bread, she learned to code. I painted some walls, and I thought I was accomplished. So I'm just saying, this woman has so much energy. I was so impressed, and she's delightful, obviously, to talk to.
The other thing that really stood out, and I think Lily, you brought this up too, is she really thought then back in who helped her to get to where she was, because that really is, I think, if all of us, we can think of key people in our careers in life who have helped us at critical decision points. And I thought that was just really important point that she brought up in the end.
Yeah. Lily, you had some thoughts on that one.
Yeah, I mean, the mentorship part that she had in her life that just pushed her to do what she wanted or just explore different areas. And then now she realized all the accomplishments that she has. Then she's also like being reciprocate with others, trying to mentor others, and persons that are approaching her, just trying to guide and suggest to be brave, not to don't be afraid of doing what do you want.
I think that's really important, Lily. I think it's really interesting to think about how do we either formally or informally mentor other people. I think, we're all at different places in our career, but I think it's always a matter of just don't always look ahead, reach behind. And I know that's always been a discussion, but I think it's a challenge. I think it's a challenge to ask for help. So I think we have to in our roles, we all have to think about how we can help and mentor other people. It may not be something specific; it may just be giving them the encouragement to pursue something that may not be related to what you do. I think, Lily, that's a great point. I just feel like that's how we have to move forward on mentorship.
And I don't think it doesn't need to be a formal mentoring relationship like I'm your mentor or let's be part of this program, although they're wonderful.
Yeah.
And I think that's sometimes the encouragement that many young women need. But just to simply, listen sometimes, or, sometimes we all need a friend to, if we're frustrated about something, just to talk to and be that confidant that they feel, someone feels they can just call and just vent or ask for their opinion. It's so important to have those kinds of people in our lives, and so hopefully we can give that to others as they, whether they're the same age, the same part, level in your careers, or younger or older, right? We can be that person no matter what stage we're in our career.
Just even listen to this interview. It's just it gave me encouragement to just don't be afraid, do my things, and as you said, it's like indirectly she's been a mentor just listening to her.
That's a really good point. Yeah, you're absolutely right.
You're right.
And that's what we're trying to do. That's what we've been trying to do. But I also like, Lily, you brought up a point about persistence. Well, first of all, the company she works for is Persistent Inc. But Lily, you were bringing up a point about her persistence.
Yeah. So, yeah, she said, like, don't give up, be persistent. Just, it's kind of a message of follow your dreams and don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. Ask for help. Like, follow your guides and your God as well. So it's a mix of everything, but I think the message behind that persistency is not just like kind of follow your dreams. It's just like you do it. You are able to do it. Just find what you love or what you are interested in and combine it with either technology, data science, whatever you are interested in. So I like that combo on how she feels like persistence was key on her achievements.
It definitely was. We all have to be more persistent. That's our goal. Let's use that as our moving forward.
That sounds good. Persistent.
All right. Well, I think that was a great interview, and thanks, Lily, for joining us, and Lois, and we will see you soon.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening. If you like our podcast, please subscribe and rate and review us. Thank you.